Well, hello there.
Okay, we're here today at Saguaro National Park doing a little ride called the Cactus Forest Loop. It's 8 miles and it goes through some really amazing scenery, and it's a lot of fun because the cars go slow and it's a one-way road. And a lot of times you're faster than the cars. Like this one. There's the visitor center. And it looks like they're not taking money today. That's good. So we're starting the loop to the left here. And I first heard about this about 4 years ago when I opened up my bicycle magazine, and there was something called 20 Rides We Love, and this was one of them. I think I went out the next day and did it, and I've been hooked ever since. I've done it over 100 times. It starts out with this kind of crazy hill right here, and you got to be careful not to go too fast. One of the things I love about it, besides the scenery, is use gravity. Try not to brake too much, and gravity will do a lot of the work on the uphill for you. We're doing about 30 miles an hour right now. Just beautiful. Out that way, straight ahead is the Catalinas and Mount Lemmon.
One of my favorite times to cycle out in the Cactus Forest Loop in Saguaro National Park is in the summertime in the early morning. And typically I'll leave my house at 4:30, sometimes 5 in the morning, get out to the park around 6 o'clock. And when you get out there at that time, the great thing is there's no traffic. You don't have to pay fees or show your card at the kiosk because nobody's there that early. And it's fairly cool. By 9 o'clock, it can get up over 100 on a lot of summer days. But when you're there at 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock, it's maybe in the upper 70s, mid 80s, so it's fairly tolerable. But the good thing about being there at that time, aside from the lack of traffic, is that's when a lot of the wildlife comes out, because wildlife, like us, they don't want to be out there in the heat. So I've seen a lot of animals at that time of day. Coyotes, javelinas, a lot of rattlesnakes.
This is a nice overlook called the Cactus Forest Overlook. And we're going to start heading east around the loop with a nice downhill coming up right here.
One of my favorite times to cycle out in the Cactus Forest Loop in Saguaro National Park is in the summertime in the early morning. One time, out of hundreds of hours, I did see a gila monster, which are pretty rare to see here in Tucson. The gila monster it's not endangered per se, but I think it's a threatened species. They spend most of their life underground, and they only really come out when they need to eat, or maybe after rain they need to get water. So the national park, Saguaro National Park, actually has a gila monster identification program where they tell you when you come in the park, if you see one of these, try to get a picture, don't get too close, let us know where you saw it, because they track every specimen in the park, and they want to see their patterns. And these guys are biologists and scientists that work for the park that run this tracking program. So anyway, one morning I did come across, probably about 100 feet ahead, I did see something on the road. I didn't know what it was, and I got closer, and sure enough, it was that familiar kind of black and reddish speckled pattern of a gila monster. And it was crossing the street very slowly. The sun had just come up, so he was pretty sluggish. So I stopped and was able to take a couple of photos of him. And then when I was done with the ride, I sent them to the biologists that are behind this tracking program at the park. And they probably within a day sent me back an email, and they were really excited. They said, wow, this is a specimen that we have not seen yet in the park. And I think they said they've been tracking over 90 specimens, and this was a new one. And the reason why they knew it was new is because the marking patterns on the gila monster are like a fingerprint, and they're completely unique to each animal. So they took a look at this pattern on the one that I took the snapshot of, and they're like, wow, this is a new specimen to the park.
There's a lot of trails in here, and this cactus forest north is the only one that allows bikes. And it's really pretty. Goes kind of up and down through the desert here. I'm on this road bike, so not the right equipment to ride it today, but it is fun.
So they can tell it's unique. The funny thing is, they can't tell if it's a male or a female because both genders look alike. But they estimated that my specimen was probably 2 or 3 years old, and they gave it a name. I wanted them to name it after me, but they gave it the name LV. So that's, yeah, if you ever see LV in the park, it's a really beautiful, beautiful specimen, and it was really cool to see that the Gila monster. I've only seen them in my 6 years here 2 other times. They're very shy, but that was a great encounter for me, and one of my more memorable rides in the Cactus Forest Loop.